So I found a KTM demo ride out here at Bike Week, and I'm excited for this one. They will not let me film on it. It's one of their stipulations of the demo ride. I can't film on bike, but I'll get some footage before the bike, and then after the ride, I'll fill you in on what I think of the bike. My first ride up is the 890 SMT. I am so excited for this one. I'm going to be demoing the 890 SMT. This is a supermoto with a big old motor in it, and a touring tank, and a windscreen, hand guards, and this is like the best mix of bikes for me. I'm so excited for this ride. So this is an interesting mix of bikes. So you have 17-inch wheels, but a bra style tank, somewhat of a front fairing. It'd be very interesting to see how this feels on the highway, but I believe this to be something that's going to be super flickable, but also very stable at highway speeds. You've got a steering damper, you've got WP forks, kind of like their race bikes. Similar front end to what KTM's doing on their other bikes. Like you've got the Dukes that have the praying mantis style lights. The 890 is very similar. It even has cruise control. How cool is that on a supermoto? I wonder if this is adjustable at all. It doesn't look like it is because it's attached here. You could probably get a taller screen for it if you wanted more coverage, but it might not be necessary. Let's see how it feels out on the street. So they say it's always the little things when you're looking at the expensive machines. The fact that they're running an O-ring on the fork tube to show you how much dive you get to adjust your suspension properly, and you've got a 90-degree steel valve stem, that is pretty cool. It's been years since I've had a KTM engine. I always felt like I liked the engines, but they were a pain to work on. I've heard from a lot of people that it's still kind of that same way, that if you're used to a Japanese bike, then the Austrian bikes, the German bikes might not be the way to go if you are working on it yourself. But I feel like I might be up for the challenge. I might need something different now to push myself as a mechanic and as a rider, so KTM might be an option for me. I want to get some thoughts down after the ride of the 890 SMT. I gotta say, that's a fun bike. It is a very interesting hybrid mix. You've got the windscreen, you've got the fairings, you've got the big tank, but it's got 17-inch supermoto style wheels. It rides kind of like the, I almost want to say the Super Tenere, actually. It has what feels to be a longer wheelbase, but it doesn't. It's just because of the body, it feels longer. It does have a ton of power. Even though it isn't parallel twin, 890 cc's is a lot for that. So it wants to wheelie in 4th gear. There are 6 gears. The power band is very linear, very smooth, very easy to ride. However, it is tall. I am 6 foot, and I was having to force myself to flat foot. I could tiptoe it, but it was very tall. The seat is unlike a supermoto seat. It is more like a touring seat. It is wide, it is flat, it is good and comfortable. I could see going for long rides on that pretty easily. Not a problem with the seat there. The bars did feel a bit far away from me. At my height, it was okay. My arms are long enough, but if you're looking at somebody who's 5'8", they might have an issue with reaching the bars when you go to full lock because it's gonna pull it too far away from your body. Something to consider. So if you're looking at this bike, go find one at a dealership, sit on it, try the ergonomics. You might need to change the bars out, but I'd recommend trying this bike out. It's a lot of fun. Now it's time for the next demo ride. I'm gonna go ride the new 1290 GT Super Duke. That bike is a beast. Let's go have some fun. Now this engine is actually a V-twin. I rode the old Super Duke back in the day, the 1190, and that was a cool bike, but it got really hot. That rear cylinder sitting underneath the seat, I felt it, but I was also riding in Southwest Florida. It was pretty hot. But this bike has some of the coolest styling I've seen. I love the single-sided swing arm. I love the orange accent on the spoke. That's pretty cool. The exhaust builds into the bodywork. It looks nice. I'm curious to see how it looks with like an acropovic exhaust, something that's a little bit smaller without the cat, because that'll open up that space underneath. It might look a little different. Curious on that one. You got that same style front end, but check out these turn signals. They're integrated into the radiator shrouds. You've got that nice beak that they've got now on the KTMs. You have a big tall windscreen here that has a little bit of a scoop to it. Should create a nice bubble around you as you ride at highway speeds. Huge screen here. You've got mounting points for luggage. You've got a grab handle for passengers. Something you don't see very often on KTMs. You've got actual metal pegs. A lot of their other bikes are running the rubber covered peg or a cleat around a rubber peg. So it's pretty cool. Curious to see how it feels if it's buzzy. Very interesting. You do have electronically controlled suspension that says semi-active. That means it will actually adjust as you're riding. The rear suspension, I believe, is also electronic. I don't know much about that, but it is a WP rear shock as well. Same for the front. Brembo brakes. It's like a Brembo Master. Brembo Master cylinder too. Cool. This bike is literally built to race. It's KTM slogan, isn't it? Ready to race? I thoroughly enjoyed the 1290 Super Dude. I thought that the power plant was fantastic. I thought that the power delivery was amazing. Transmission was so smooth. It actually was smoother than the SMT was, which I'm quite surprised by, being as it's such a big engine and a V-twin. I expected it to have more of like a punch to it. One thing to note is it does not like to go slow. This is not a beginner bike. This is not a bike that you want to teach people to ride on. It has a hydraulic clutch, so that actuation is different than a cable-driven clutch, and the friction zone is very finite. If you're in first gear, you can go 5-10 miles an hour easily. If you're in second gear, it does not want to go less than 10 miles an hour. It starts to get kind of jumpy. If you are doing like slow races, it might not be the best bike for you unless you want to burn out your clutch. It's doable. It's definitely doable. The seating position is awesome, very comfortable. The bars are at the right spot, the foot pegs are at the right spot, and it did not vibrate at all. The SMT, however, did have some buzziness to it. I felt like the mirrors were almost useless on the SMT because of how buzzy they were. I would look behind me and I saw buzzing orange, but I couldn't see who was on a bike or what kind of bike it was besides orange KTM. On the 1290, I could look in the mirrors doing 50 miles an hour, doing 10 miles an hour or whatever. It was great. I could see everything behind me as if it was crystal clear. Very, very cool to see that. Now, I noted before that the reason I didn't buy the bike initially years ago was because of the heat living in Southwest Florida. That rear cylinder underneath the seat was very, very uncomfortable. It's not cold today, but it's definitely not hot. It was warm on this engine. It was definitely something I could notice wearing even just boots. I could feel it on my feet, on my ankles, and my calves, but it wasn't something that was a detriment. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't buy it because of it. I like this bike a lot. I'd recommend riding it. I'd recommend checking it out. If you want a hooligan bike, if you want a touring bike, if you want to mix between those two, it's a great place to look. So check that one out. Up next, we have the 890 Adventure R. This is like middle size adventure bike, because you've got little ones, you've got enduros, you've got the big super adventures over here. This might be something that scares people off because it's a big engine and it's a big body. It's a lot of bike. So if you want to get into the adventure riding but you're not sure where to go, this is where he advised me to start. So I was chatting with the guy, the rep from KTM. He said this is a bad mamma jamma. He said this is a great bike. He said it's a fun bike. It is a easy to ride bike, and it is something that will make you want to go ride off-road and on-road. It'll just make you excited to go ride a bike. So for starters, you can see it's got 21-inch spoked front wheel. That is great for off-roading. It comes stock with tires that are about a 70-30 off-road, on-road tire. You can do highways. They're also pretty meaty knobbies that allow you to go ride some trails. The guy that I was talking to said that he has taken this on some pretty gnarly single track, and the bike did pretty well. It does have ABS. There are KTM branded brakes, dual piston calipers. It is running a cable clutch system. There is a steering damper on it. WP suspension all around. Manually adjustable, non-electronic. Chain drive. Big mounting spot here, mounted to the subframe for any type of luggage that you want to put on it. Here's those pegs I was talking about. See how it's got a rubber mount inside of the cleat that helps to eliminate vibration, but still gives you the extra grip that you need when riding off-road. The rubber can be removed too, so if you want to run just the metal cleat, you can do that, kind of like a motocross peg. Even the passenger pegs are rubber coated. Pretty slick. Want to do some closing thoughts on the 890 Adventure R that I just rode? It is a very easy bike to get involved in ADV with. It is not too heavy, it's well balanced, the transmission's smooth, the delivery of power is very linear. It's something that you could jump on and go ride some access roads without really any training. It's not a heavy bike that's gonna make you feel like you're gonna be battling it in the woods, or at least it doesn't feel heavy, which is cool. It is surprisingly fast. It's almost unassumingly fast. You're cruising around doing 30 miles an hour, but then you shift up into fourth gear and you just go. It has a good bit of power. It just has a couple different ranges. I feel like the higher end of low, almost mid-range, is where it doesn't want to be. But once you get into that high range, the power kicks in and it just launches you. It is definitely a fun bike to ride. It's not something that I would personally buy. If I were to be looking for that size of bike, I would lean more towards the CF Moto Ibex 800 because of the price point. It's a very similar style of bike. It's a very similar ride. The features are similar, and generally, it's a lot cheaper. So between those two bikes, I'd go with the CF Moto, but between the three that I rode and reviewed today, that 1290 Super Duke GT, fantastic bike. I gotta go check Marketplace to see if I can find one, because now I'm torn between that and a Z900. It was a beefy bike. I loved the feel, I loved the grunt, and you know what? It just looks good. Yeah, it looks real good. Let me know if you have any of these three bikes, what your thoughts are. If I feel like I missed the mark. If I missed any commentary, let me know too. Have fun out there, stay safe. See you next time.